The Alfa Romeo Tipo 33. Probably, no, definitely the best looking series of racing cars the world has ever seen. From the extremely pretty original, through the Le Mans and Daytona versions, past the Tipo 33/2, which will make your jaw slack, and through the glorious TT12, every single one of them is, quite frankly, just gorgeous. But then Alfa Romeo managed to go one better. They took what was a piece of motorsport art and made a road-going version. And in the process, they somehow managed to make it look even better. They only ever made 18 Tipo 33 Stradales, but it is, quite frankly, the best-looking road car there's ever been. But that was 56 years ago, an anniversary of sorts, I guess. Because now, there's a new one. We can get onto all the technical details later because there's a lot of design things that we need to go through first, starting right at the front with the shield. Now, back in the racing days, every single one of the Tipo 33s had a very small Alfa Romeo shield on the front. In fact, some of them were so small that on the Daytona, for example, it basically looked like it was painted on. And that's been repeated here, except this one has this really incredible 3D design. You don't have to have that. You could spec something different, but I think you'd be a bit of an idiot not to. They've moved the badge onto the bonnet itself, just above it. And there's some features from this that apparently will carry on onto some of the cars that you might be able to afford, like these V's that come down across the nose. And then there's the lights. The lights were perhaps one of the most important things for the look of the original Tipo 33, and these are basically the same shape. There's some differences. It has large amounts of LEDs to finish it off because the actual light unit only comes down about 2/3 of the way down. The rest of it, this channels air into the radiators for cooling. And I think this is incredibly important. So many cars these days have moved into thin LED strips to make their details on the front. And yes, you can create a lot of cool details with that, but there's a reason we used to fall in love with cars. They had faces. The eyes and the lights made them look like human beings in a way. There's a reason that we find kittens and babies cute and want to protect them. It's because they have big eyes and a face, and that's what this is doing. Yes, at some point, thin LEDs can look cool, but that kind of robotic face is never going to be loved in the same way. There are some details on this that aren't the same as the original car. We're in an era when you've got modern knowledge of aerodynamics. So this has sprouted a splitter made of carbon fibre from the front with aero fins on the side, and down the side it's got a big set of sills with more aero appendages. The side profile? Well, that's pretty much pure Tipo 33, isn't it? Even to the fact that the windows reach right up into the top of the roof. And these doors, they open in the same way, butterfly, sort of like the dihedral doors you'll find on a McLaren 720S. And another nice little feature is, just like the original one just had sliding air vents in the side, this just has small window apertures that open. There's a vent here, just like the original one, but much bigger than the one over there, because this feeds not only air into that V6, but also air right through to reduce the coefficient of drag. If you come further back here, this, which also channels air out from inside the wheel arches, on the original, there was a piece of mesh round here which did a similar job, but now we've got indicators here. And then you come around the back, and that's almost where the similarities to the original car begin to fade away. Yes, it's got great big round rear lights and it's got 4 exhausts, but the rear lights have been cut into by this piece of design here that makes it look it's very frowny. It's seen something it doesn't really like. It's very aggressive. And then where the old car had exposed exhausts and you could even see the gearbox, this has a massive carbon fibre diffuser and F1 style rain light. If you like aggressive modern design, you're probably going to like this. But for me, given how much of the rest of this car is based on smoothness, on minimalism, I think it's its weakest angle. There's a philosophy to the design outside that is about not shouting. It's about not being loud, letting the design speak for itself, and that very much continues in here, because this must be one of the best interiors I have ever sat in. And let's start with what there isn't, because there's no extra screens, no second screen for the passenger, not even an infotainment screen in the middle. There's just the driver's dials here, which are, of course, a screen, and that's it. There also aren't any buttons on the steering wheel. This is a steering wheel. It does steering. It's got these beautiful pieces of machined metal with the holes out of the middle, and that's it. In terms of fancy things, everything else is machined switches and dials through this glorious center console. You move this one forward and backwards to choose between auto or manual. It's very much like an aircraft in here. These feel like the throttle controls on a plane, and there's more buttons up here. You do your windows through this one here, and you choose your demister there. And there's other things that you can personalize. Buyers get to choose their own VIN number for the car, an 8-digit number that will be stamped right here on the center console. Let's talk about the spicy bits. This is an Alfa Romeo sports car, so it has a V6 engine. It's a 3-litre twin turbocharged V6, and if that sounds familiar, you're right. It's because it's from the Giulia Quadrifoglio, and it's an excellent engine there. It's been fiddled with, so it's got 620 horsepower now. V6 engine, just like the original one. Mounted longitudinally, just like the original. Pure rear-wheel drive, just like that one. Sent through an 8-speed automatic gearbox. That's where we differ. This has a limited slip differential. It's also got double wishbones all round for better handling. But what if you were to want your Tipo 33 Stradale, but for the future? Well, fear not, because you can have this as an EV as well. Now, not a lot is fully known about how that's going to be, but it could have 2 or it could have 3 motors. When it's an EV, it'll have about 750 horsepower rather than 620. And both will do 207 miles an hour. Why 207? That's 333 kilometers an hour. It has a carbon fiber monocoque, so there's more than a little MC20 going on in here. And there's a few extra details just to reduce weight. For example, the hinges on these doors have been specially made out of carbon fiber, and the surrounds on the windscreen and all the doors are all carbon fiber. The rear windscreen, not glass, just to reduce weight. Now, final sign-off will be done by some bloke called Valtteri Bottas, and somebody tells me that he's bought one of them. Speaking of carbon, it's got some pretty massive carbon ceramic brakes, and those are controlled by a brake-by-wire system similar to what they use in Formula One and other motorsport. It will have no movable aerodynamic devices, instead using the air as it is, and if you were to happen to come across one of those really annoying speed bump things, it's got a nice 50mm nose lift just to get that big splitter over it. And now we must talk about a concept called bottega. That is the fact that the final creation and design of these cars will be done in conjunction with the owners themselves. They'll be able to pick customizations. And this won't be the only bottega car. There will be more to come. This, the Tipo 33, will not actually be made here in Turin by Alfa Romeo. It will be made by Touring Superleggera to provide that extra little bit of customization to the new owners. And they can have it in one of 3 colors. There's Alfa Rosso, there's a clear-cut Rosso, and there's a rather nice royal blue. And if you come along and ask for another color, they might let you have it. Might? Yes, might. Because Alfa Romeo has formed what it calls the Committee 33, which is the heads of all the departments at Alfa Romeo, and they come together to decide whether or not you can have the customizations that you want. So basically, if Deadmau5 comes along and asks for a big Nyan cat on the side, they're going to say no, but just over there I can see some pictures of it in yellow and orange and green, so they'll probably say yes to most things that you want. Cost? Several £1,000,000. They have not defined that to us, but Alfa Romeo does say that this car will make money, or they wouldn't have built it. But you can't have one, I'm afraid. All 33 of them have been sold already. It was first shown in secret to customers at the Italian Grand Prix at Monza last year, and they sold a couple within the first few hours of sales. And then, within a few weeks, they were all gone. And, let's be honest, you can see why.